Let me share my screen. Give me a second. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining the session today. Like in next 40-45 minutes, what I'm going to do is basically walk you through that how to establish an impactful career in data science and analytics, right? Can you please be on mute?
ये नहीं रखता था आजकल का ये बच्चा था अभी चला गया इनका पास साथ
Zubair, can you please be on mute? Afia, can you please put Zubair on mute because there are a lot of disturbances. Hello. Yeah, am I still audible?
Yes, Biswajit. I think somebody unmuted by mistake. Please carry on.
Yeah, sure.
Just a second. Moses, please ensure that attendees don't have the right to unmute themselves, please.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so quickly, let me introduce myself. So my name is Biswajit. I have a total of 16 years of experience into data field, mostly into data science. And recently and currently, I am heading the data engineering, analytics, and insight practice for Tata CLiQ, which is the e-commerce arm of Tata Digital. Prior to this, I was leading the data science team for international, for Walmart, for their international markets. And I worked there for 5 years. I started my journey in data science / analytics way back in 2006. I'm an IIT Bombay pass out. Other than the work, I am also involved with academia. So I take a lot of courses across different colleges in India. Lately or currently, I'm doing some kind of a teaching assignment with NITI Mumbai, and there are few colleges also with whom I'm involved. I'm a regular speaker in the data science conferences, mostly within India. For example, yesterday only, I had a session in IIM Bangalore in their Bionkop's conference this year. So what I'll do in next 40 to 45 minutes, right, as I mentioned, these are the 3 agenda points, right? First, I'll walk you through, I'll give you a high-level overview of AI. Moving on to what I'll do is basically I will explain a couple of the applications from the real world where AI has been used. One is around personalization and another is around customer 360-degree. And finally, I'll end up the talk by explaining that how to build up a career in analytics, right, or career in AI or career in data science. Moving on to now, what is an AI, right? Now, if you think AI, it is basically a multidisciplinary function, right? And it consists of, and it's basically an overlap of multiple functions or multiple disciplines. Starting off, the computing skill is basically one important aspect when you are getting into an AI. The second important discipline is about mathematics and statistics. And the third important discipline is around the domain expertise, right? So for example, if you are solving supply chain problem, you need to know the supply chain domain pretty well. Now, if you see the overlaps, right? Now, if you are good in coding or if you have a good programming background and you have a good amount of knowledge around mathematics and statistics, that is when the machine learning becomes a prevalent path for you, right? If you have a good mathematics and statistical foundation and you are very strong in terms of domain knowledge, then the traditional research or the business analytics or data analytics will be a very good area for you. If you are great in computing skill and to a certain extent you also understand the domain, I think the software development will be a very good area for you. But essentially what this particular slide entails is basically what are the disciplines which constitute AI, right? So that is what I wanted to convey through this particular slide. In the next slide, I will explain the AI landscape. So first slide, I explain what are the different skill set which constitute the AI. Now it is basically the landscape, right? Now, if you see the artificial intelligence, you can consider this as a superset. Under that, comes the machine learning, which is basically a subset of artificial intelligence. And within that comes the deep learning. And in the subsequent slide, I'll explain what machine learning is all about or what is deep learning. Then there is a component of data science. Now, data science, if you see, it's an overlap between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. But there is a certain area which is outside artificial intelligence as well, right? Which is mostly around the data and business analytics. And this entire framework sits on top of a big data, right? So this is technically the AI landscape. Now, what is AI means, right? So in a very, I'm so sorry, my electricity is gone, so I'll just switch off the video maybe. So what does AI mean, right? So AI is basically nothing, but it's basically everything, but essentially when a machine mimics a human being, that's what is AI is all about. That, you know, if we can train machine that will be mimicking a human intelligence, that is exactly what the ideal state of AI is. So for example, you know, like for example, a classic example is say a driverless car, right? I'm sure that all of you are aware of the driverless car. So what essentially this driverless car do is it mimics a conscience of the driver, right? The driverless car knows when to stop, when to take a right, when to take a left, just like a driver do, right? So essentially what it is doing, it is mimicking the human intelligence, right? So this is all about AI. Now, what is a machine learning, right? So machine learning is basically a technique which teaches a machine to mostly do a couple of stuff, right? One is about prediction. Another is basically, you know, prescribing something, right? So when we actually teach a machine or, you know, teach a machine to predict something and prescribe something, that is when we are called that particular segment is called machine learning. Now, how we typically do it? Using some statistical method, some mathematical method, we teach the machine, right, to do those things. Third aspect is about the data science, right? Now, what is data science? Now, data science is more holistic. So data science is basically area or basically inciting business insight using scientific methods, right? Now, it can be predictive, and that is when it has a big overlap with machine learning and the deep learning part. But it can be little bit backward looking as well, which we typically call descriptive analytics, right? For example, you know, like we just wanted to understand that how my business is doing. Now, there is no prediction as such, there is no prescription as such. It is about analyzing the information and try to understand that, hey, what is my sales today, or what has been my sales last 1 week, right? Last 1 week, what are the top 10 products which got sold? So it's mostly just about giving the information, right? Using some methods or, you know, just basic data extraction. So that's why data science is a combination of machine learning, deep learning, and the data and business analytics, right? When data science entails to prediction and prescription, then it falls into the machine learning and deep learning category. When it entails to just giving a certain information, then it falls into the data and business analytics area. Okay. And as I mentioned, that entire thing sits on big data. Now, what is a big data? The big data is mostly like 4 V's. One is about volume. Volume means, you know, how big is your data? Now, it can be like a GB, terabyte, zettabyte, it varies. Second is about the velocity, right? Velocity, and let me give an example of velocity. Like, for example, when you take a reverse in the car, right? So there is this, nowadays car has this reverse camera. So what essentially it does, it basically, moment you put the reverse gear, it generates a data between, like, it gives a data between the, you know, the rear bumper of your car and the front bumper of the car which is there in the back, or maybe some wall or whatever it is, you know, the distance between the object and the rear bumper of your car. They typically pass the data and measure the distance, and based on that they throw some recommendations, right, or some suggestion that, hey, you are in the red zone, or you are in the green zone, and etc. etc. And the cameras, when you have the cameras, it converts into an image. So essentially that's a very classic example of, you know, the velocity, you know, because your data movement is happening real time, right? The third aspect is about variety. And when I'm talking about variety means, when the data entails to say an unstructured data or and by unstructured, I mean, say a text data or an image data or any sound, music, all those data, it's basically comes under the variety. And the fourth aspect is about the veracity, which is basically the accuracy. Means obviously if your data is not accurate, it doesn't make any sense, right? So it needs to be accurate as well. So when your data falls in one of these categories, typically it is being termed as big data. Perfect. So in this first two slide, what we did was we set up the context of AI. We went through saying that, hey, these are the key the skill sets and how the AI landscape looks like, right? So what I will do now, I will just go into a little bit of deeper into the machine learning part. So typically the machine learning are 4 types. One is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement, and deep learning. Okay. Now, what is a supervised learning? So supervised learning is nothing but you have a target variable, you have a certain input variable, and on that basis, you get an output. Okay, so this is basically, so in a typical mathematical form, it is like y is equal to fx. So y is your target, x are your input, and based on that, you get some output. Okay. Now, the supervised learning are further subdivided into 2 parts. One is classification and another is regression. Now, when your target is to classify something, an example, I'll give you an example. Say, for example, you pass 100 images and say from these images, can you classify them as cat or not, right? So you are typically, it's a 1 and 0 outcome, right? So you are either it will be a cat or not. That's the outcome. So typically the class of supervised learning, which do this kind of activities, are called classification. Whereas regression is basically when you actually getting some numeric data. Numeric means I'm talking about continuous data. That means, for example, how many items will a user buy? If you have to predict that, that comes under the regression class. And there are a lot of business use cases around classification and regression. Okay. The second type of machine learning is about unsupervised learning. Now, what it says is basically that can we actually interpret or yield insight only using the input data. That means if you recollect, the previous form is y equal to fx, right? Now, this particular form is only that I only have the input variable, which are x's. Can I actually insight something from it? Now, the classic use case of unsupervised learning is basically the clustering or segmentation. That means, you have, for example, in this example, if you say the input data are banana and orange, and obviously it's a pretty very naive example, and you pass this through some unsupervised learning or clustering algorithm, and it typically clusters banana together and segments the oranges together, right? So essentially what it says is, okay, I think there are certain questions coming. I will request you guys to just, complete this particular poll. It's important for us. Yeah, so essentially what unsupervised learning mean, as I mentioned, that you have input and from there you tends to get the output, right? Now, the third class is about reinforcement learning. Now, what does reinforcement learning does? It's basically, it's a action and reward based algorithm that, you take certain action, and whether that particular action is right or wrong, based on that, you get some reward. And then accordingly, you move to the next step, right? Now, a classic example is, and, some of you might have heard that, few years back, there's this machine which is developed by IBM Watson. They actually defeated the grandmaster in chess. Right. So what they did was exactly this, that, it was based on the reinforcement learning, the entire algorithm. And because it was based on action and reward, and you know the chess, right? That the way chess is played, that you take one step, and whether the step is correct or not, on that basis, you get some reward. That if suppose your step is correct, then you might land up, taking out one of the opponent's, the piece of chess, this thing. And if your action is wrong, then definitely it might retaliate back. So the entire reinforcement learning is based on your action and the reward concept. And the last genre is basically deep learning. Now, deep learning is about, it's about prediction only. However, this particular techniques are mostly rotated around a neural network. So if you are doing a prediction or even classification using neural network, that automatically comes under the deep learning, right? So this entire premise is based on the artificial neural network. It has actually gained quite a lot of traction in lately or in last 3-4 years, and it's one of the most widely used algorithm right now, right? Though it takes quite a lot of compute power and you need to have a proper setup in order to execute it in scale, but it has actually yielded quite a lot of better results than some of the supervised learning in few use cases. So these are basically the 4 types of machine learning algorithm: supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learning, and deep learning. Supervised is basically in the form of y = fx. You have the target variable, and moment you give the input variable, you will get an outcome. If the outcome is form of a, like a 1, 0, or maybe, just a yes, no, that kind of a form, then it falls under classification. If it is in a continuous numeric that, for example, you are predicting sales, then that particular supervised algorithm are called regressions. The second component is unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning, you don't have a target variable, you only get the input variable, and on that basis, you come to a certain conclusion. Segmentation and clustering is basically one classic use case of the unsupervised learning. Reinforcement learning, the entire concept is based on action and rewards, that you take an action and based on that you get a reward, and that's the way the entire algorithm works. The fourth is basically deep learning. It's very, very similar to supervised learning. The only fundamental difference being that the algorithm genre is around artificial neural network. Okay. Now, so basically, this is a high-level overview of AI. What are the different skill set, what is the AI framework looks like, and what are the types of machine learning. Now, what I will do in the second part is about, I will walk you through at a very, very high level couple of AI application in the real life, right? Now, I'm sure that, most of you have done shopping via Big Basket, and it's basically a day-to-day activity, at least in most of our home right now. So if you go to Big Basket, right? Maybe how to reduce the polls? Okay. Yeah. So if you go to the homepage of Big Basket, right, it typically shows like this way. It comes like this. And if you want to, and if you scroll down, you find this section of bestsellers, right? So for example, you wanted to buy an egg, right? So what you do is basically that you click the eggs. So the egg page opens up. And if you see the egg page, below the page, you saw there are 2 sections which comes up, right? One is frequently bought together and another is a similar products. So if you are, basically because I'm not able to project the entire page in one screen, so that's why I'm just putting it in different pieces. But this is essentially the egg page. Okay. Now, the question is how this frequently bought together or the similar products things come up, right? How exactly these gets estimated. Now, that is exactly a classic use case of a machine learning. So, like what typically it happens at a very high level, what it does is that we, based on the historical transaction, so basically all the basket which comprises of egg gets analyzed, and then based on that they picked up along with egg, which are the products which has appeared most in a basket, right? And that's why these are called frequently bought together. Now there are genre of machine learning algorithm which does, obviously I'm not going into the detail of that, but this is basically this entire part which is like frequently bought together is an output of a supervised based learning, right? Similarly, the similar products is also a similar outcome, right? So typically, so again, there is a machine learning algorithm which identifies that, hey, you choose an egg, certain egg, it is basically, I think, some regular medium antibiotic residue free. And then they find out that which are the eggs or any other products which are very similar in nature, either on the basis of the description or basically considering a number of factors like description, then price point and few others. And based on that, like they come up with this recommendation. So essentially the summary of the story is that, this day-to-day life, where we're using big basket in order to purchase an egg, all these things, all basically in that particular page, when we are seeing similar products are frequently brought together, these are all coming as an output of machine learning models, right? So this is a very classic example of a machine learning use case in our day-to-day life. Now, the second example is, I'm just moving out from machine learning a bit into a more data analytics space, right? Now, for example, now every business, right, whether be it a retail or say a car or say a flight, every business wants to understand their customer, right? That, who are my customer, what are their name, address, phone number, gender, what kind of product they have purchased, how many times they have purchased from us, what was the last time they have purchased, how the engagement look like, what this customer says about us in social media. So there are so many information, right? You can, in today's world, you can get about the customer. Now, the point is that how to represent those information in a way that can be consumed by a business user, correct? Because, the dimensions is like it's an n-dimensional information. So one of the simplest way is basically when, say, for example, there are this kind of informations are available in the data, and we wanted to put it in one place where this can be easily consumed, right? So then we come up with this kind of a dashboards that, for example, if you see, this is like the customer's name is Patty Melendez. She's a female. This is her address. Then if you can see that what is their average spending, what are the brands she prefers, what are her engagement score, and so many other information, right? So this is if you don't just imagine that if this particular information is not captured in this particular way, how exactly a customer, say a CRM, basically a customer relationship management executive, or a personalization guy will be able to come up with a strategy for this particular customer, right? So it's a very important aspect that how you convert a n-dimensional piece of information or n-dimensional data in a way which can be consumed very easily, right? So this is again a very interesting use case of analytics, where we do a lot of these customer 360-degree work to understand what our customer looks like, who are our customers, and etc. So essentially, and there are so many other places where AI is used currently, but due to obviously the time shortage, I'm highlighting the couple of them. But essentially what I wanted to say here, that first of all, the previous example is all about the usage of AI in a day-to-day life, how exactly it is. And the second is about, a typical use case where without getting into machine learning also, we can actually extract so much of information for the users, right? So here you don't have to code, you don't have to do much. Maybe obviously you have to code a bit, but you don't need to go into a complex algorithm like a machine learning or do a hard codings, right? You can actually do it very easily. Now coming to my third section, which is about career and analytics, right? So what I will do here, I will first explain that how typically a data science project or any analytics project looks like, or basically what are the different stages. And in each stage, there are different roles which are basically there are different personnel who are involved in this particular stage, right? In various stages. Now, typical role of data science personnel are, data scientist, data analyst, BI analyst, data engineer, and machine learning engineer. These are the 5 major genres. Now, with this particular diagram, I will explain that in which phases, which particular kind of a people are associated, right? Now, if you see, when we start our project, the first step is around business understanding, right? Now, because at the end of the day, any analytics project entails to solving a business problem. Now, once we understand the problem, then the next phase comes is basically when we need to, understand from a data that, hey, in order to solve this particular business, what kind of data do we need? Are these available? If they are not available, can we actually acquire? Right. So typically this second step comes into the data acquisition and understanding. Now, if you think from a data acquisition and understanding, there are various sub phases, right? So first of all, now when you're talking about, we need say 10 kind of different information, right? So that means we are talking about 10 different data sources, right? So, so we need to identify the different data sources. Then we need to identify that what are the different data pipelines, because we need to bring all these data into one particular place, which we typically call data lake. So whether this pipeline exists or do we need to build and etc. Then the third aspect is about bringing the data into one place, as I mentioned. So whether that particular data lake will reside on-prem or maybe in cloud. So what is the right environment, right? And once that data is there in the data lake, then we started doing the data exploration, that, what kind of basic insights which we can actually mine from that particular data, right? Now, if you think from a different role perspective, now in this particular phases, there are three major, roles which play an important, basically three major people who plays an important role here. They are data engineers who actually work mostly in developing this pipeline, bringing the data into this environment, be it in on-prem, on cloud. Then obviously the data analyst and the BI analyst or the business intelligence analyst, they play a very important role to do the first level of insight generation. And definitely the data scientists, because they need to understand from where the data is coming, what kind of data are available, what is the quality of the data, and etc. But in this particular phase, it is mostly it is around data engineers and the data analyst and BI analyst. Now, once we have the data in place, right, then what we do is basically we go for modeling, which is about developing the solution, right? Now, when you are developing a solution, the first step, which we call as feature engineering, that means, we have this data, we got every data here. Now, so basically, is that the form in which we can use it, or do we need certain kind of a transformation? Do we need some additional factor from those variables or from that particular data, right? A simple example being, say, for example, now we have prices, right? Just imagine that there is a factor, there is a variable of price. Now it has price information, right? Now, can we use the price information as it is? Because typically the prices ranges anywhere between say 1 rupee to maybe 50,000 or 1 lakh, right? So can we use it in that particular form, or we need to create some bin? That means, hey, we convert this into a bin, like 1 to 10, we create a bin, 10 to 100, we create another bin, 100 to this thing, because so that you can understand that 1 to 10, 1 lakh, the variability is huge, right? But moment you convert that into a bean, the variability reduces. So all those steps happen in this feature engineering. So once we have those features generated, then we go into the model training. That means we develop the model. And then finally is basically the model evaluation. Now, model is basically, it can be a machine learning model, deep learning model, statistical model, it can be anything. And then after you develop the model, then we evaluate that, hey, is my model working, right? Especially from a statistical standpoint, and also from a business standpoint, that is it giving me the desired outcome, right? Is it giving me the desired accuracy, right? So all these steps are basically comes under modeling, and the personnel who are associated with these steps are data scientists and data analysts mostly. Now, once we develop, after the modeling step, so what is the end outcome of this modeling step is basically we have developed a good model, which actually, satisfy the outcome, right? But then the challenge is that we have developed the model, but we need to now deploy it in the production environment, right? So that is where this is the main game of machine learning engineers. So what they typically do, they picked up this model and then they scale it and deploy it in a production environment. And it's a very important step, because until unless you put it into the production environment, the downstream system cannot consume the outcome, right? So if we stop here, then it will be mostly an academic exercise, right? Means there will not be any business usage. So this deployment and scaling is very important. And once it is done, then it gets consumed by the end users, and then finally, the entire cycle gets complete. So the intent of this particular slide is firstly to explain you guys typically how a data science or analytics project shape moves, and what are at each stages, what are the different personnel who take part, right? Now, once I have established this, let me move to the next slide, which is about the roles and responsibilities, skill sets, and the salary for each of these roles. Right. So now what I have done is, in terms of the skill, I have actually divided for each of these roles. I have actually classified the skill set into mostly 5 dimensions. So if you can see, I have said, okay, mathematics and statistic knowledge, domain knowledge, computing skill. If you remember my first slide, these were the 3 major skill set what we need to get into the analytics industry or data industry, right? And then if the computing skill, what kind of programming languages or tools you need to know. And right now, the cloud computing is a big thing, because most of the companies are moving from an on-prem to a cloud setup, right? So in which role, you need a high, low, medium cloud understanding. And then what are the more or less the roles and responsibilities. And then what is the average salary, right now, what is going on in India, right? So let me start off with data engineer. Now, data engineers, if you see the responsibilities, right, they mostly work on data architecture, setting up the right data environment, creating the ETL pipelines or the data pipelines. They work on data governance and etc. So what they need is basically a very high computing skill, because they need to be very, very proficient in languages like SQL, big data, Spark, Python. And they must be pretty good in cloud computing as well. As I mentioned, that most of the the databases are moving from on-prem to cloud, right? Domain knowledge, again, low means it's not like that. If it means definitely it should be high in all the skill set. But what I'm trying to say, even with a low domain knowledge and lesser mathematical and statistical knowledge, that is okay. Means it's a good to have. Means obviously, if someone have a very good mathematics and statistical foundation and a domain knowledge as well, that's basically great. But what I'm trying to say, what is the minimum skill set what you need, right? So obviously, a very high computing skill, pretty good cloud computing skill are basically needed to become a good data engineer. Obviously, a good mathematical and statistical foundation are always welcome, a good domain understanding. But even if you are in the initial stages, that should be okay. Right. And on an average right now, so I got this number from a company called Ambition Box. I did some secondary research and got this number. So on an average, the salary is 7.7, but again, it depends on, obviously with years of experience and, various industry have various numbers, but I'm talking about mostly an average salary at the initial stages. Moving to the next role, which is about business analysts, right? So business analysts, what they mostly do, they work very closely with the business and try to convert their requirement into an analytical requirement, right? And then also they created some initial reports. So in this particular area role, your computing skill is, you don't need so much of computing skill. You need to have some kind of a data visualization skill, because obviously you wanted to showcase the initial insight coming from the data. And when you're also translating the business requirement into analytical requirement, you need to present it in some way so that so that the business user are in sync, right? So data visualization is a very important skill set in this role. Yes, if you have a SQL skill set, it will be very helpful or handy. because in order to develop a Tableau dashboard or a Power BI dashboard, you need to, extract the data. So SQL is a good to have skill. The domain knowledge, you need a pretty good domain knowledge because essentially you are converting the business problem, right? So into the analytical problem. So until unless you have a good domain knowledge, it will be difficult for you. Again, mathematical and statistical knowledge is not a must here. I mean, if you obviously basic knowledge is required, but even if you don't have an advanced knowledge, that should be okay, right? Moving on to the data analyst. Now, this is basically the guys now, who start getting into the core analytics as such. Means if there are basically 4 stages of analytics. One is descriptive, predictive, prescriptive. 3 stages mostly. And then, so these data analysts, they mostly work on the descriptive analytics side. And what it essentially means, right? So what it means is that they analyze the historical data, and then they get some insights. They don't do any prediction. They don't do any prescriptive study. But basically, it's not a very forward looking. But what they do is that based on the trend and seasonality and other pattern, they say, hey, this is how your business is behaving, or your business is happening, right? This is basically the customers who have sort of purchased from you in last 6 months. This is their persona, right? So those kind of information is generated by this particular role. And they also do some basic analysis or basic statistical analysis. So if you see, this particular role needs a medium level of everything, right? So this particular guy should have a medium level understanding of statistical knowledge, a decent understanding of domain, a decent computing skill, because then he or she needs to extract data quite a lot from using SQL. They also need to convert this into some kind of visualization. So that's why I've put in Tableau. And Python is obviously sort of a very handy tool for data analysts to do any kind of analysis. Cloud computing, again, if he or she knows, it's well and good. But even a low understanding of cloud computing will do here. You don't need a very rigorous understanding which you need in, say, at a data engineering phase, right? Typically, the on an average starting salary right now is 5.5. Moving on to the next role, which is about data scientist. Now, this is the role where you need a very high, mathematical and statistical knowledge, because you will be building the models around it. The domain knowledge is also needed pretty high, because at the end of the day, the modeling outcome needs to be aligned with the business, right? Now, if the data scientists don't understand the business, then he or she will not be able to generate an outcome which can be consumed by the business. So domain knowledge is very, very important. Computing skill is why I put medium, because obviously that particular person needs to know how to code or how to build the model, how to develop the model in Python or various other programming languages. But he, in comparison to a data engineer and later say ML engineer, I think, yes, if he is a very proficient coder, it's definitely a welcome skill. But even if he is medium, he may not be very proficient, but that also should suffice, because typically, when you develop a model in Python, it's a very user-friendly language. So you don't need a very hardcore coding there. With a medium level of coding, typically you can manage. SQL, Python, and Tableau are very, very important tools to know from a data scientist standpoint. And he or she also should have a good understanding about the cloud computing, because the entire computational aspect will happen in cloud. And if he or she is not aware of it, it might lead to a lot of, especially the resource utilization, cost utilization, and all, right? In terms of responsibility, as I mentioned, that it's mostly about developing the machine learning model. You need to train and retrain as well based on the outcome or the feedback what you got. And these are mostly the major roles and responsibilities of a data scientist. Right now in the industry, the on an average salary is coming around 9.2, again, based on the ambition box. Last but not the least, basically, is the ML engineer. And these are the people who take the models which are developed by data scientists into production, right? So they need to have a very good coding or computational skill. They need to have a very proficient knowledge about cloud computing. They need to have a good, decent mathematics and statistical knowledge as well, because they will be taking these models to the production, right? So they need to understand it. They might not be they might not have a very great understanding of the domain, but that is okay. But I think the main, the skill set for them is, coding, cloud computing, and as well as having a medium and good understanding of the statistical and mathematical knowledge. The main programming languages or tools are for the ML engineers are Python, and he or she need to be well versed with the big data and the Spark, because most of the companies are getting into those platforms nowadays. And the starting salary is almost close to the data scientist, which is about 8.68. Now, this is not a very different companies have different designations. So a lot of companies are there where data scientist and ML engineer are one designation, means it's a one role. There are a lot of companies where data analyst and data scientist are one role. There are a lot of companies where business analyst and data analyst are one role. Okay, but what I want to entail here is basically these are the 5 roles, which are very important and critical in a data analytics industry. What it is called, how exactly it is being grouped, that varies company by company, right? So it's not a standard that every company will have a data business analyst role, a data analyst role, data scientist, or ML engineer. Means I have seen companies where you don't have ML engineer and these responsibilities are being done by data scientists. And I've seen the other way around also, that there are designated team for data scientists and designated team for ML engineers. Okay, I just wanted to call it out so that you guys are clear. Moving on to the next section is basically that, and it's a very interesting section, that how can you build your AI portfolio, right? Now, there are 3 things which, based on my experience, I feel that are very important for a budding analytics professional. One is you need to have a GitHub portfolio of yours. So whatever, the projects, what you are doing, in different courses you have enrolled and you are doing some capstone projects and etc. You need to have a proper GitHub Git repo, where you are actually properly arranging or organizing your projects in a way. Now, what it does is, number one, it's basically the GitHub is open source, right? So you can access other data scientists' Git repos and you can actually learn from them. Secondly, a lot of time, for example, I'm a hiring manager for almost 6 or 7 years now. And what we do typically, that after our CVs get shortlisted, and especially the CVs which has the Git repo mentioned, we go and we basically give a high level, we just look into their GitHub at a high level, which helps us to understand that what kind of projects this guy has done. If you just open their code, you can understand that, what level of coding or how proficient they are in terms of the coding. So it helps hiring managers or anyone who is taking the interview to get a good glimpse, but just by going through their GitHub portfolio, maybe for 5-10 minutes, right? So it gives the hiring managers interviewer a pretty good perspective, right? So that's why the GitHub is a very important thing, according to me, when you're building the AI portfolio. Second is about Kaggle, because see, this analytical world is all about problem solving, right? Now, and you can only be proficient in problem solving when you're actually solving problems, right? Different problems. So Kaggle is actually a platform where you can go and solve problems. Now, whether you want to participate in any competition, even there are some practice problems as well. And Kaggle also have a data bank. So you can actually access any data set there. So it actually gives a very good platform to practice, right? And more you practice, more concepts will be clear. You can also, for example, say one project you are doing, say, in terms of predicting customer churn, another project you are doing sales forecasting, right? And you have got all these problems in Kaggle. You do this, you practice this particular problem, create a Git repo, create those, the codes, all those required documents into the GitHub. And then, like when you are going for an interview and the interviewer seeing that, hey, there is a GitHub and you have worked on, say, churn and sales forecasting, that definitely gives a confidence to the interviewer, saying that, hey, this guy has some understanding and some knowledge about data science or analytics, right? So Kaggle is a very good platform for practice, for practicing, and you can also participate. And if you can actually win some of the competition, that gives a lot of value to your CV, right? And the third aspect is about the certification, because nowadays, we have to achieve quite a lot of things in a shorter span of time, right? So we don't really have time to actually do a full-fledged MBA or a full-fledged master's and etc. for 2 years, right? It's very tricky. So that is when the certifications comes very handy. That in a 9 months to 12 month span, you get the breadth and to a certain extent even a depth as well, right? Because typically the certifications are very hands-on. There are a lot of project associated, right? So so that in my mind, it's a very good balance between breadth and depth, right? Which is very, very necessary in an analytical or an AI world. So both breadth and depth are important. So in my mind, these are the three fundamentals or foundational things which you should have when you're building an AI portfolio: GitHub, Kaggle, and a good certification. What I will do, I will pass on to Balaji for the next section, which is about, he'll be explaining the integrated program in business analytics, which, Jigsaw is launching in association with IIM Indore. Balaji, over to you.
Hey, thanks so much for this time, Biswajit. So hi guys, my name is Balaji. I will not take a lot of time. I'll quickly try to brief and wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. So before we start, let me also try and introduce myself in terms of what I do. I take care of this particular program. I direct the program with Jigsaw Academy and IIM Indore, and I'm also one of the panel members towards having people onboarded towards this program. So in line with the last point Mr. Biswajit spoke about, right? An IIM Indore certification will definitely hold on a lot of value to all of the people out over here. Specifically talking about this program is so well diversified in the market with close to about 15 plus batches, right? We have done close to about 15 batches for all age groups, for all experience level, right? So that's the major point that anybody would want to think of at this point in time. And talking about the course duration, this course consists of 10 months. During the 10-month period, right, every session that's going to be happening over the weekends, which is happening on a Saturday and Sunday for 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday. Most of the batches will happen from morning 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock, right? So all of them are interactive sessions with either the IIM faculties or Jigsaw Academy faculties or industry experts like Biswajit, right? So that's one other information that you need to be knowing. The other one would be the certification that is being co-delivered by Jigsaw Academy and IIM Indore. This entire program is being delivered by the Indian Institute of Management Indore, and the coordination and there's a lot of other processes which has been helped by Jigsaw Academy. There'll be a counseling team who's been counseling people to understand more about the outcome of the program and what is the information that they need to be knowing, how suitable is it for. From that particular perspective, Jigsaw Academy plays a primary role. Some of the top points that I think everybody should know about this particular program is this particular program is standing out to be number 2 when it comes to the overall ranking, which is being done by Analytics India magazine. And 2, the most important factor that anybody wants to know currently today is making sure you become industry ready and job ready, right? When we're talking from that perspective, BYOP, bring your own project, is one of the important factors that I would want anybody to consider. Because you working in any domain, any specific domain for that matter, maybe it can be a supply chain, it can be manufacturing, it can be banking, finance, anything for that matter, you might want to go in depth, understand this from your own project that you might want to get along with, work on the project, get a hands-on exposure on that particular topic, and finally move on, right? So yes, well, we're talking about alumni status, which has been provided. There are so many people from different programs of executive education who are going to be a part of the alumni status. You definitely get a chance to talk to them, connect with them, understand more about how the relevance of this program is going to be for each of the industry in each of the domains. That's one other exposure that I have seen that all the students get to understand and probably interact. That's also another open opportunity for people to find good opportunities in terms of the job that they're looking forward with, right? Now, the fourth point and the fifth point, which I'll quickly try to conclude, is mostly trying to adapt things from all the faculties who are trying to come and specifically teach from a domain specific or either from an industry relevance. So that's another important factor I would want anybody to understand and look upon, right? So this entire program, like I said, it will start from the basic level, goes to the intermediate level, and come to the advanced level, and finally it gives you an hands-on in such a way that you are all ready for everything, right? So we definitely warmly welcome people who do not have anybody with any technical knowledge also. So this is for people who do not have any technical knowledge, who are with high intent of learning a specific program and trying to give enough number of hours in the learning and then probably go forward and get the right outcome. So these are major points. Finally, one last minute to understand anybody who's interested to apply for this program. It comes with a cost of 3,05,000 plus taxes with a 0% TMI. You can go forward in the process of making sure you use a you spend ₹1,000 application, and you go through either if in case you have a GMAT, GRE or a CAT, you can go forward. In case you don't have it, you can apply for a test which has been offered by Jigsaw Academy. And once your selection process is done through the test, you can give a round of interview and then finally finish off with the interview. If the interview goes well, it is positively selected by the panel members and the recommendation comes from the Indian Institute of Management Indore. You can get the offer letter from the Indian Institute of Management and then go forward and get yourself onboarded. So these are some highlights that I would want to talk about the program, but I'm okay to take up any questions in case you guys have anything for me. Or Mr. Biswajit for that matter.
Hello.
Hey, hi Kushbu.
Hi,
Hey.
Khushbu.
Hi, Biswajit. So thank you for taking this wonderful session. I have a question because since you were mentioning about the AI and the machine learning, what I was able to sense is that this course is specifically for the one who has engineering background or has done some coding in their graduation piece. I'm from a medical background, so just want to understand, will that course be a suitable thing for a person who's from a medical background? I have a little bit of the experience in the analytics, but not specific to the SQL, Python, and so.
Balaji, you want to take it up?
So this particular program that you're referring to is, Kushbu, comes from not completely into the artificial intelligence point of view. It completely takes over from a person who wants to diversify and get into both management as well as analytical part of it. They might want to step and understand more from a management perspective, try to deliver this more from a data oriented point of view. So that's what we completely deliver in this program, Kushbu.
Yeah. And Khushbu, just to add one more point, if you remember that when I mentioned about the business intelligence analyst, right? And those kind of a portfolio, which actually sort of the bridge between the business as well as sort of the data, machine learning and other data science teams, you don't typically need to be very, very proficient, right? Obviously, you need to know how to play around with the data. That's for sure. And an Excel skill set is a good enough. Yeah. Until obviously you are catering to a very, very big data set. And then, but you definitely need to know how to, as Balaji mentioned, right, about the domain part, the business part, and how to generate insight from it and how to present it to the business.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I see some questions on the chat box. So yes. So master's or diploma, or it's a 10-month program. It's an executive education. It doesn't come under diploma or master's. It comes under the certification side of it. So it's more relevant to the current industry and environment. A major set of organizations are preferring executive education because it comes with an hands-on exposure. And that's what we are trying to deliver over here. So it's a post-graduation certificate is what I would want to mention out over here in this conversation. And so I am right now pursuing graduation. So am I eligible? In case you are in the last semester and you're going to get out of the master's or your graduation anytime soon, you can go forward and pursue this program, Archie. Ankur Kunda, total cost of the program, please. The total cost of this program is 3,06,000 plus taxes. It's a 0% EMI basis with 18 months of EMI that you can go forward and pay. So Divya Pandey is asking me to repeat. Divya, are you asking me to repeat on the pricing or the eligibility? Okay. Placement opportunity is definitely available. Jigsaw Academy team has a lot of people or a lot of employers who are willing to hire people from the batches of the Indian Institute of Management Indore's business analytics program. We have placed a lot of people before in terms of anybody looking for an opportunity, and you also get it. It's not a placement guarantee program. It's a placement assistance program. However, this program will make sure you get so well equipped to make sure you get a job opportunity very well. One of the other ways of looking at a job opportunity is also connecting with your alumni and looking forward in multiple other opportunities through their sources.
Balaji, I think Akash has raised his hand.
Okay. Yes, Akash, you have something that you want to ask me. Akash is saying, is there a placement guarantee? That is what I spoke about. And what would be the package? Biswajit, would you want to take up a 3-year experience IT person's package and give him an average out on it?
Yeah, sure. So Akash, like again, obviously this is not a hard and fast this thing, and it might vary, but based on my experience, a 3 years IT person mostly into, if you're getting into data scientist, is definitely should be around 15. If you're getting into data analyst and BI, you can definitely expect somewhere between, on an average 10 lakhs.
Okay.
It may be more than 10 lakhs as well, but I'm talking about on an average number.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It may vary from the company that you're willing to go forward with. It may vary from the designation, the position that you're trying to hold on to, but it's an average that Biswajit is trying to put across. How can we connect with alumni? Once you are going to be a part of this program, you get to be a part of the IIM alumni status. You have a pool of people whom you can connect with. That's a networking that has been built, and then you can go forward and work around that. What if someone has a 12 years of IT experience? Yes, if you are willing to pursue your knowledge, we can still go forward and have you onboarded on this program. This program acts as a lateral growth for you to get onto the opportunities which is related to business analytics. Yes, you will get an IIM ID. You can also use that for your resume, and then it becomes 2 ways that you want to use it. One, if you buy a 2-year alumni subscription of IIM, you get it for 2 years. In case you have a lifetime alumni status, you get an IIM ID, IIM ID for the lifetime. Any more questions? Have I missed any of the question?
Sir, Anshul this side. Am I audible? Yes, hi. Yes, I just want to know about the opportunity in which have more like a BA, business analyst, and the data analyst, right?
Biswajit, would you want to take over this from a knowledge perspective, and I can Anshul, from a program perspective?
Yeah, Anshul, from an opportunity standpoint across the industry, it's almost similar. Because it's basically almost, you can say, not a compliment, but the next, like BA moves to data analyst, right? So from an opportunity standpoint, it's almost similar, and it's a pretty lucrative. Means you can do some research as well. I'm sure that you will find it that it's a pretty lucrative opportunity at this point of time. both BA as well as DA. And as I mentioned, Anshul, that in some of the organization, you have only one role, right? So even they club it under BA or a DA. So yes. So that's
okay. Thank you.
Akash, this answers to the question that you asked, which Mr. Anshul asked as well. After this program, will be a BA or a DS? So this answers to the question that you're asking. Gare Narayana is asking, how much is alumni lifetime price? 10,000 rupees would be the cost of the alumni. 10,000 plus tax would be the cost of the lifetime alumni status that you will be given to. Any more questions for us?
Balaji, I think Somnath is asking about the course fee.
Okay, the course fee, Somnath, is 3,06,000 plus taxes, which is 3,60,000 rupees, including of the taxes. In case you want to go forward and pay all at once, you get a price deduction, and you will have to end up paying 2,70,000 plus taxes only.
Himanshu, like typically when I think I just read your question, and based on my experience, what we typically do, yes, when we are actually offering the role, and obviously the criteria is that you have crossed the interview round, your current salary will be taken into consideration, right? Definitely. Means it will not be like your current salary was 14 lakh and you got into a role which they're offering, or the company is offering, say 6 lakh, right? So definitely the current salary what you're getting will be taken into consideration, and most of the places they do.
Rightly said, Biswajit, because that's a parallel learning that you're going to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Just why I mentioned it, right? It's called lateral growth. You're not going to give away the opportunity that you have already picked up and the kind of skills that you've learned over your experience. You're going to, in fact, add on more skills to whatever you have gained, and you parallelly move ahead and climb the ladder.
This is mostly for greater than equal to, right? Means why someone will take the courses if they have to start less than, right?
Yes. Can I know the placement status till now? What's the percentage of placement rate? Okay, I might want to answer this in a very generic point, because not all the people who come to this particular program will want to go for the placement assistance, because many people who come here would want to go ahead and fetch opportunity in terms of an academic learning only, right? But for most of the people who have gone through the placement assistance, there is just not one opportunity given. There is multiple set of opportunities which is given until and unless they are able to get an opportunity. But there would be hardly 25 to 35% of people who go forward and apply for a placement assistance, and the team continuously keeps them assisting until they get an opportunity. Will this program teach us management also, as it is from IIM, or only? It is both management as well as analytics side. As the word clearly says, business analytics. You're going to learn the overall management perspective, strategizing things, how you need to utilize this knowledge from a business point of view, and how you need to start looking at it overall from an organization point of view is another thing that you'll be completely learning as a topic, Akash. Yes, Sivanshu, that's exactly what Mr. Biswajit had spoken about. You still end up getting an opportunity upwards of 14 LPA, and it's a parallel growth and learning that you're going to gain. You're not going to stick on to a 5 or 6 lakh LPA, because your experience holds a lot more weightage along with the knowledge that you're going to gain. So you are going to be looking upon into larger roles and responsibilities, and obviously upwards of 14 lakhs is what most of the people would consider, which is why I said the word that I've time and again mentioned in this conversation is lateral growth. Lateral growth means not giving away the opportunity that you've already had, and the kind of exposure that you have, and probably climb up the ladder. Anybody else has anything for us? One of you can give an access to Akash Kumar. He wants to talk.
Akash, go ahead, please. I've given access to you.
Okay, meanwhile, before Akash talks, yes, Himanshu, once again, trying to clarify it again. I'm worried if I take a gap of 6 months, sir, will still pass salary be considered? Yes, Himanshu, your 6 months gap is not going to create a lot of chaos in the opportunity that you're going to look forward. You will definitely have a certification which is going to be shown across to the management or to the employer. that you were looking for a higher skill and you were trying to look forward in larger roles and responsibilities by adding on more value to your resume. So that suffices the requirement and you will not be in any trouble. Don't worry about it. Akash, are you still not being able to talk?
Yeah, yes. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yes, Akash.
Yeah. Sir, I want to ask that if I take this program and means my main purpose is to get placement only. So currently I'm working in IT company with 2 years of experience. So after completing this course, what package I can expect if around roughly package?
Okay. Akash, first of all, how many years of experience do you carry?
Next month I will complete 3 years.
3 years. And
Yeah.
what domain and background are you working?
Currently I'm working as a database administrator, so using SQL commands.
Great. So you are asking me what is the package that you'll end up getting?
Yeah, means if I take up this
Akash,
course.
this entire program is very relevant because there are many people who do not come from these kind of backgrounds. You're already working on some technology in your current opportunity with 3 years of experience.
Yeah.
You are going to get into a certification which holds on a good reputation of the certification that you're going to carry. The current salary will definitely have a spike in terms of what you're expecting. You can look forward on upwards of 7+ lakhs in terms of the opportunity that you want to go forward. And that's an average. Again, I'm trying to mention out over here. It can vary from 7 to 10 lakhs, which is what Mr. Biswajit also had spoken to. And so we will provide you with placement assistance. Definitely, that's something that we'll walk along with you, but not a placement guarantee. But a certification that you're going to carry along with you, it's a lot more weightage for you to get the opportunity that you're aspiring to get into.
So like this program is from IIM Indore. So will IIM Indore also provide us the placement assistance, or only Jigsaw will be providing?
It's offered by Jigsaw Academy, Akash. It's not offered by IIM. Any of the programs for that matter, which comes from any of the B schools, top B schools, does not have a placement opportunity as such. It's the repute that carries on the program or the certification or the institute that gets you an opportunity.
Okay, so means after, like as you said earlier, also means after learning business analyst, we can move further to data scientist role also, like after some years.
Yes, Akash, absolutely. Means see, that's basically business analytics and data analytics is a stepping stone, right? Means there are a lot of folks in the industry who actually take that particular path. You start up with business analyst and data analyst. You need to do upskilling, but then data scientist is definitely feasible and possible.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. And it's a quite like regularly taken path.
Okay, so most of the people do like this.
Yes.
Start from
quite a lot of people. Yeah.
Okay.
Divya Pandey, sir, I am pursuing MBA. If I will join IPBA course from IIM Indore, what will be my placement package? Your placement package will always be upwards of 7 to 10 lakhs. Like Mr. Biswajit has told, that's the average package that you'd be getting for a set of people who are looking for a BA kind of roles and responsibilities. If you would like to add on some points on that, Biswajit, please take it over for me.
Yeah, no, I totally with you, Balaji, on that. And Divya, means obviously, see, we cannot guarantee or know what kind of packages industry will, obviously companies will offer you. But that what I'm talking about is a standard trend, right? So anywhere between 7 to 10 you can expect, because right now this particular field is booming. And based on my experience, what I've seen is this kind of a package.
Another important point I would also like to add on over here is because in the initial stages you're looking at 7 to 10, but once you start stabilizing your career opportunities in the field of BA or anything related to analytics, the kind of opportunities, the kind of exposure and the salary brackets that you're going to be into is going to be way tremendous than what you're currently looking at. So that's the current market looking like.
Yes, sir. My friend also sitting with me currently is in testing profile in IT field, so he's getting around 10 LPA. So he's asking that if he switch to like a business analyst, so that will be a different profile. So he's like Himanshu also asked this type of question. So means will they consider him as a fresher, or will they consider his last salary, means last package also, or will they give him as a package of fresher?
So Akash, to anybody and everybody who's already into a job opportunity, right? They will definitely not want to consider him as a fresher, because he does not come just with an understanding of IT alone. He comes with a management exposure. He comes with an working experience. He understands the culture of the organization. He understands a lot of things which is relatively equal to what opportunity that they're going to be looking forward. It is always not about the job that you're going to be doing is what gets you paid. It's also about the organization structure, and understanding about how you need to operate in an organization is something that many organizations consider. So keeping this as a factor, right, wherever you go, whenever you move forward upwards, and added certification or added education from an academic point holds on a positive sign to you to get multiple opportunities on the monetary side plus words as well.
Okay. So even if we switch to like completely different profile, so that will not impact.
It will not impact for a matter of fact, because whatever domain, whatever technology, wherever you are, right, you're going to be involving analytics, right, irrespective of an IT technology or a manufacturing or a finance, anything for that matter. You have some amount of analytics which can be played around. So you can pick up a domain which is very relevant to you already, which you will be well versed with whatever you're already doing with, along with that pick up analytics as a knowledge. So you're not getting diverted away from the domain that you're already in.
Oh, so I am asking about my friend. He's in like testing profile, so he will be like shifting his profile.
Akash, for any profile shift, right now, the key is basically to obviously to crack the interview and really prove that you are worth it, right? And that's when all the certification will help, right? It's not about that, you have a certification and immediately it's not like you have certificate and you suddenly get into 15 or 20 or whatever it is, right? So you have to definitely prove yourself that you are really worth. But obviously means when we typically go ahead with this kind of a profile, right, who are shifting, why if suppose if you're getting 10 and I say that I'm offering you 6, why will you join me? Simple, right? So definitely it will be like greater than equal to 10, but you need to prove me as a hiring manager that you are really worth, and that is when all the certification and other things will come into the picture.
Okay.
Akash, I will also suggest you to connect with us. We can counsel you well. We can give you the right inputs that you need, and maybe you can take a call towards how you want to proceed further, but you can definitely have a connect.
Okay, sir. Okay. So after the session, how can I connect?
I hope you've dropped your details, right? I will ask the host to make sure that I collect the details and pass it on to the counseling team. They will definitely reach out to you. They'll give you all the inputs that you need about how you need to step forward.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Anything else from anybody else?
Balaji, there is a question. Is it relevant for a 24 years of experience, mostly in program management for last 11 years?
Would you like to take that question for me, Biswajit?
Absolutely. See, I have definitely seen people who have moved from core engineering background after 20 years of experience. I mean, I know because I led one of my ex-team members were like that. Again, the thing is that obviously I think this means that particular person also went through this kind of a similar program. I'm sure that this particular program, if you want to get into a business analytics role, for sure, this program will help you. And it's not like something outlier. There are a lot of people who have actually taken that particular call, that you have been into a particular role or doing particular domain for almost 20-25 years, and then you decide, hey, let me switch my stuff into another domain. And as Balaji mentioned, that obviously this 24 years of experience is very rich, and basically because you're coming from program management, so definitely I think you have a very strong project management, people management kind of a responsibilities, right? So those will definitely come handy. So the summary, yes, this particular program will definitely help you to get into a data analytics field.
Okay.
Even if you have
I'll add on to what Biswajit also spoke, right? Currently, every single organization and domain is looking for analytics as a specific team as such, right? When we want to have this kind of roles and responsibilities, we will start having people who are going to be working on that. When you're in a larger roles and responsibilities like this, you will definitely want to monitor situations and things which is being dealt by analytics. So to make sure that you have your current opportunity in such a way that it deals with analytics, you definitely need to know about it. Right? That's also one of the main reasons why you should learn analytics, even to make sure that you monitor what your current opportunities for the people whom you're providing to is taken care of. Anything else from anybody else? Akash, the team is requesting you for your contact number. You can share the contact number and they will get in connected with you. I guess, yeah, that's it. I don't think so anybody raising any concerns or questions for us. If you're all good, can we wind off?
Yeah, thank you so much, Biswajit and Balaji, for your time today in the call. And thank you everyone for attending the session today. We hope you had a good one. So take care and have a happy weekend.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a happy weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Balaji. Yeah, bye.